It's Algebra 2, Test 3, going through Lesson 1.4 Study Guide. Which percent equals 0.45? Percent, remember, means per hundred. Your decimal spots, or the digits after the decimal, that's the 10th spot right there. The 10th place. This is the hundredths place, 100. So that says 45 per hundred right there. So that's already 45 per hundred means percent. 45 per hundred or 45%. So D for that one. Number 2 says 4C. We're simplifying by combining like terms. 2C, 4C plus 7D minus 9C plus 5D. Put your C's together. 4C and negative 9C. Remember, it's always the sign that goes with it. So you need to draw a box around it. Make sure you include the negative with the 9. 4 minus 9 is negative 5C. Same thing with your D's. You have 7D, it's positive, and positive 5D. 7 and 5 is going to be a positive 12D. Use the distributive property for number 3. Negative 2 times 4y is negative 8y. Negative 2 times 7 is minus 14 plus y. Then combine your like terms, negative 8y and positive y. Negative 8 plus 1y is going to be negative 7y, and you still have minus 14. Number 4, we're solving these equations. You have y's on both sides. Negative 7 on the left, positive 6 on the right. Negative 7 is smaller, so let's bring it over. When you bring it over, use the inverse operation. Negative 7 is the same thing as minus 7. So undo minus 7y. If you do it to the left, do it to the right. 6y and 7y together gives you 13y. You still have, it's positive 13y. You still have negative 9 on the right, and you still have positive 2 on the left. 7y, negative 7y canceled out. Since we brought 13y, since we now have our y's on the right, bring the rest of it back over to the other side. Negative 7 is the rest of it. Negative 7 acts like minus 7. Again, do the inverse operation to bring it over. The inverse means to add 9. If you add 9 to the right, add 9 to the left. 2 plus 9 is 11, and it cancels this. Is equal to 13y. In order to get y by itself, divide by 13 to cancel out the multiplication. If you multiply, divide the right, divide the left, there's no number that goes into both 11 and 13, so this is your simplified fraction, y equals 11 over 13. For number 5, you have a negative out front of that parentheses where it says y plus 2. Treat that as if it's a negative 1 and distribute the negative to both terms. Negative 1 times y makes it negative y. Negative 1 times 2 makes it a negative 2. Now we have 9y minus 3 on the left equals negative 1y minus 2 on the right. Again, bring the smaller y over to the larger one. It's negative 1, which means minus 1. Do the inverse operation, which means to add 1. If you add it to the right, add 1y to the left. 9y plus 1y is going to be 10y. You still have minus 3 on the left. That cancels out. You still have negative 2 on the right. Since you brought all your y's to the left, bring your negative 3 to the opposite side. That means minus 3. If you want to undo minus 3, you add 3. If you add it to the left, add it to the right. Negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. You still have 10y on the left. This part cancels out. Get 10 by itself by, get y by itself by dividing by 10. If you divide by 10 on the left, do likewise on the right. Y equals 1 over 10. Number 6, distribute these two numbers that are outside the parentheses. 6 times x is 6x. 6 times negative 0.08. 6 times 8 is 48. There's a decimal in the middle, so negative 4.8. Do the same thing with negative 0.2. You know that 5 times 2 is 10, but you got to move the decimal one time, so it becomes negative 1.0x. And then negative 0.2 times 4, negative times a negative, is going to be a positive 0.8 equals negative 1. So combine all of your like terms now. Combine all your like terms. 6x minus 1x. Again, if you need to draw boxes around them where you can see the sign with it, 6 minus 1 is positive 5x. Negative 4.8 and positive 0.8 is going to be negative 4.0. So now you got 5x minus 4 equals negative 1. Looks a whole lot better. All those decimals and stuff are going. You have 5x on the left, so let's move negative 4 over by adding it. If you add it to the left, add it to the right. Negative 1 plus 4 is going to be positive 3. You still have 5x on the left because 4 and negative 4 canceled out. Get rid of 5 times by dividing by 5, and x equals 3 over 5. Number 7, negative 2 equals x over 8 minus 4. The left side simplified, so is the right side. Remember, when you undo operations, you undo backwards. You don't use please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You work Sally, Sally Aunt, dear my, excuse please. You work backwards. You work sad mep for that one. So get rid of minus 4 by adding 4. If you add it to the right, add it to the left. Negative 2 plus 4 is positive 2 equals x over 8. This part canceled out. Now you have multiplication and division to cancel out, or you have x divided by 8. Cancel it out by multiplying by 8. If you multiply to right, multiply to left, 8 times 2 is 16. This canceled out and left you with just x. X equals 16. Number 8 says 9 plus 8n equals 65. Again, undo the addition and subtraction first, the positive or plus 9 by subtracting it. 65 minus 9 is going to be 40. 46. 8n, like I'm crazy. 8n is equal to 46. Then cancel out the multiplication of 8 times n by dividing by 8. Do the same thing on the other side. Okay, yeah, there's the mistakes. Not 46, everybody. I got my tens place wrong. 56. That makes more sense. It cancels out. 8 divided by 8 cancels out, leaves you with n. 56 divided by 8 is a nice integer 7. N is 7. You have to simplify the left side. 5 times y plus 2. Use the distributive property. 5 times y is 5y. 5 times 2 is positive 10 equals 75. Then cancel out or undo your order of operations backwards. Undo plus 10 by subtracting it. Do it to the right side as well. 75 minus 10 is going to be 65. You still have 5y on the left. Undo 5 times y by dividing by 5. Do it on the right-hand side. Y goes into 65 13 times. Number 10, you're solving the equation for the formula for the indicated variable. So what we're doing is we're solving for t. You want to get t by itself. So undo everything else. Remember, you work backwards when you undo things. So if you want to get, that says 3 times r cubed times t. So undo the fact that it says times all of those by dividing by 3 times r cubed. If you divide the right by 3r cubed, you have to do the same to the left, divided by 3r cubed. So now what we have is s over 3r cubed equals, and all of this cancels out and leaves you with simply t. Said solve for t, we got t by itself. Looked like an intimidating problem at first, but it's very simple. Number 11 says t equals 2 times u divided by e. Solve it for u. So you have t equals 2u over e. Undo the division of e first. You know how to undo division of something. Multiply by e. If you multiply the right by e, multiply the left by e. Now you have et phone home on the left equals 2u on the right. Get rid of 2 times u by dividing by 2 on the right. Divide the left by 2. And now you have et divided by 2 equals u. And u is isolated, so therefore it's solved for. Again, both of those problems look intimidating until you realize you just undo the inverse, you just undo the operation, simply. Number 12 says to simplify negative 5 plus 6 squared times 5 minus 2 cubed. Do its inside parentheses first. When you're inside parentheses, do the order of operations or the exponents first. 6 squared is 36. Now you have negative 5 plus 36. times 5 minus 2. We can do that one right now and say it's 3 cubed. Again, do what's inside parentheses. Negative 5 plus 36 is 31. 3 cubed, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So we left with two numbers right next to each other, 31 times 27. And when you multiply 31 times 27, you're going to get a number that says 837. 13 says solve b times x plus cy is equal to d for x. So you have two different operations you have to cancel out here. Remember, when you cancel things out, when you undo things, you undo them in reverse order of operations. B times x plus c times y equals d. We want to get x equals all by itself. So the first thing you want to undo is the plus cy. So minus cy. If you subtract cy from the left, you have to subtract cy from the right. Remember, all you can do with variables like this is write them next to each other. So it'll cancel on the left and just leave you at bx equals d minus cy. Then undo b times x by dividing by b, because we want to keep x. If you divide the left by b, divide everything on the right by b, so you're left with x equals d minus c times y over b. 14 says sales tax in one state is 4%. What's the amount of tax on a $33.60 purchase? We did this one earlier. Tax equals the price times the rate. So we know our rate right here is 4%. Remember, anytime with percentages, you move the decimal over twice. This turns into 0.04. So 0.04 times the price. Our price is $33.60. That gives us the tax. So our tax is unknown. T. 33.6 or 3360 times 0.04 is 1.344. If you're trying to make that into money, again, remember, money's always two digits, so you don't go past this one. That tells you don't round up, but money acts funny. Remember that you always round up when it comes to money. So instead of being the normal rules with rounding, $1.34, you're going to make this one say $1.35. You won't have to make that distinction tomorrow if that bothers you. If there's a problem where it's money and the normal rounding rules don't apply, I won't make you make that distinction. Don't freak out. Okay, simplifying these go real quick. 8/9 plus 1/3. The smallest number that these both go into or convert to is 9. You don't have to change the first fraction. You do have to change the second one, though. It multiplies by 3. So you have 8 1 times 3 is 3. 8 over 9 plus 3 over 9. The bottom number is the same now. It's 9. 8 plus 3 is 11. There's no number that goes into both of those. 11 over 9. 4 plus negative 7 is the same thing as 4 minus 7. Think of a number line if you have to. 1, 2, 3, 4 is where you start. You go minus 7, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 if you need to get negative 3. Or subtract the absolute values and keep the larger sign. 7 was a larger sign. Negative 3 times negative 5, same sign. Negative times negative is positive. 3 times 5 is 15. Negative 36 divided by 6. Opposite signs are always going to be negative when you're doing multiplication and division. 36 divided by 6 is 6. Number 19 says to divide these 2 over 5 divided by, remember, division becomes multiplication, and use the reciprocal, 15 over 5. You can cross cancel here. It might make it a little bit easier. 5 goes into itself once, and it goes into 15 3 times. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 5 is 5. Simplified version is 6 over 5, which, remember, is the same as 1 1/5 or 1.2. 1 over 8 divided by 7 over 24. Leave the first fraction 1 over 8. Change division to multiplication and flip it to 24 over 7. Again, you can cross cancel to make your numbers a little smaller. 8 goes into itself once and into 24 3 times. Multiply straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 7 is 7. If you multiplied it, you'd have got 24 over 56. And you'd have just divided by 8 to get 3 over 7. 21 says write 496. Write 496 miles in 12.4 hours as a rate. Rate is equal to distance over time. Think of your speedometer. Miles per hour, miles over hours. So your distance in this case is 496, and your time in this case is 12.4 hours. So your rate is equal to 496 miles over 12.4 hours. So 496 divided by 12 gives you 41.33, and it continues as your rate. So 41.33 miles per hour. Solve T over V. T equals V over Q for Q. This is one that was given a couple people problems before. Get Q by itself. T equals V divided by Q. We want at the end Q equals all by itself. It doesn't matter if it's on the left side or the right side. This says V divided by Q. Cancel out divide by Q by multiplying by Q. If you do it to the right, you got to do it to the left. It cancels it here and it leaves you with V is equal to Q times T. That's not Q by itself. That's V by itself. If we were solving for V, we'd be done. We got to do one more step. This says Q times T, so do the inverse of times and divide. We want to keep Q, so divide by T. If you divide the left by T, do the same to the right. Q equals V over T, or V divided by T. 23 says evaluate y equals x plus 9 times x minus 2 when x is 4. So y equals 4 plus 9 times 4 minus 2. Subbing them in. 4 plus 9 is 13 times 4 minus 2 is 2. Y equals 26. 24, name these properties. 3 times x plus 8 becomes 3x plus 24. Distributive property. All you did was distribute that. Pi plus 11 becomes 11 plus pi. They just change positions, or they move, or they commute. Commutative property. Add of addition on that. 0.8 plus 0 is still equal to 0.8. It starts off as this. It finishes as that. Its identity does not switch. So that is the identity property. And again, put of addition on there if you didn't put that. 27, we evaluate these expressions for the values they give. 3 times A is 3 times negative 4, plus 4 times B, 4 times negative 1. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. 4 times negative 1 is minus 4. Negative 12 minus 4, negative 16. Negative 2 times 3h minus 4 over negative 5 plus h when h is 3. Negative 2 times 3 minus 4 over negative 5 plus 3. Do what's in parentheses first. 3 times 3 is 9 minus 4. All that's multiplying by negative 2 over negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Do what's in parentheses again. 9 minus 4 is 5 times negative 2 over negative 2. You can cancel that out at that step if you'd like. Or you could say that negative 2 times 5 is negative 10 over negative 2, which simplifies back to 5. 29, x squared plus 5x minus 2. 3 squared plus 5 times 3 minus 2. 3 squared is 9. 5 times 3 is 15 minus 2. 15 minus 2. Add 9 and 15. You get 24 minus 2. Simplifies to 22. I know all these problems are simple. 2x to the third plus 2x squared plus x plus 1 when x is 1. 2 times 1 to the third plus 2 times 1 squared plus 1 plus 1. It doesn't matter how many times you raise 1 to a power, it's still going to be 1. 2 times 1 plus 2 times 1 plus 1 plus 1. 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1. 4 plus 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6.